I just got back from CES 2025 in Las Vegas, and in this video specifically, I want to talk to you guys about the Legion Go S as well as the Legion Go 2. Now, I was not only able to go to the booth that they had at the show, but I also got an invitation into a private event where I was able to not only learn about the philosophy and all the different changes that were there based on everyone's feedback of the original Legion Go, but I was also able to get a little bit more of an intimate first-hand impression because I was able to talk to a representative that was there to learn more about the handheld, the philosophy behind those changes that were there, and a little bit more of the future of the Legion Go line. The interesting thing about this handheld is that it's going to come in 3 different flavors, 2 of which are Windows and 1 that is SteamOS, which is very, very interesting to me. In fact, it's much more interesting than the other 2, but I'll get into that later on in the video. Now, when it comes down to it, the first one that is going to be released is going to be the Mac Daddy Windows version. That means that you're going to get 32 gigabytes of RAM as well as 1 terabyte of onboard storage. By the way, that storage is 2242 instead of 2280 or 2230, but the bay that is there leaves enough space for you to upgrade that 2242 to a 2280 later on if you want to. The price for this handheld is set at $729, and according to Best Buy's website, it is going to be released on February 14th, 2025. The interesting thing later on in April is that we're going to get 2 different versions that, based off of what they said, is going to launch at the same time, April 2025, and they are going to come with half the RAM as well as half the storage, but the price is going to be $100 in terms of difference. The Legion Go S is going to be released at $599, and the one with SteamOS is going to come in at $499. And I have so many ideas about why it's $499 instead of $599, but regardless of that, it is going to show whether or not people want Windows and want to pay that Windows tax or would rather just go with Steam. One of the biggest things that I loved about the original Legion Go was the screen. It was absolutely immaculate. 8.8 inches, 1600p resolution, 144 hertz refresh rate. Like, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. The one thing that it was missing was VRR, and that's something that we are going to see not only in the Legion Go S line, but also the Legion Go 2. Now, the Legion Go S is also going to have 1200p resolution instead of the 1600p, and it is going to have 120 hertz refresh rate instead of 144. But regardless of that, because you are playing on a handheld and the limited power that's there, you're going to be fine with the specs that are there within the screen. The screen was still pungent. It was definitely very colorful, but at the end of the day, I really wanted to see what else I could do in terms of color and color accuracy and just kind of like test what I could see with my own 2 eyes in a more controlled environment and not being in a showroom floor or in a dimly lit private party area, so to speak. That being said, I do want to go ahead and say that this screen, at least on the Legion Go 2, guys, it's the holy grail. It's literally 120 hertz refresh rate, VRR, OLED panel. Like, can you really ask for more than that? That's something that when I saw it with my eyes, it was absolutely beautiful. This thing actually comes with a D-pad, a proper D-pad, because the D-pad on the original Legion Go was not necessarily the best, at least in my opinion. I prefer to have something that has a little bit more pivot, a little bit more movement. So I preferred the one on the Ally X. The original MSI Claw was better than the one on the Legion Go, not the Claw 80i Plus, that's not good. But also, even the Steam Deck had a really decent D-pad. But when it comes down to it, this felt really good on the Go S. The Go 2 as well. It seems to be more or less on par in terms of the design, but I would want to spend more time, play a couple more fighting games to really get a good feel of how everything comes out. But even still, the ergonomics and comfort that are there with all of the buttons are fine. The macro keys that are on the back, they aren't too sensitive. They feel just fine. And I also want to go ahead and mention that the face buttons are that same Xbox style of face button that is similar to that of the original Legion Go. One thing that I do want to go ahead and mention is that on the Legion Go S, there was a little tiny trackpad, and it did a relatively good job. Like, I was kind of satisfied with what it could do. I've had those little tiny like spaces that were there that weren't really comfortable when you were using it, when I was using it on other handhelds, but this time around it felt pretty good. That being said, I do want to go ahead and say that the triggers were really cool because you have like this little trigger on the back, the switch where you can switch from either a hair trigger or having like a full analog with plenty of movement that's there. So if you're somebody that plays shooters like COD or Valorant or Destiny 2 or whatever it may be, you can go ahead and use this and play and kind of have that little bit of advantage with the shorter travel distance when you're pulling in on the trigger. Now, despite all of the things that I said about the buttons and everything that's there, when you first pick up the Legion Go S and even the Legion Go 2, my God, does it feel so much more comfortable than it did on the original Legion Go. Side note, the Legion Go 2, the True Strike controllers that are there, they are compatible with the original Legion Go. So if you want to get an updated, more ergonomic, more comfortable version of the True Strike controllers, then you can get the ones that are from the Legion Go 2 and use it on the Legion Go 1. My assumption, this is just me, I think that Lenovo is going to go ahead and sell those on their store. I did not ask that, my bad, but my assumption is yes. That being said, when I was going with the Legion Go S, it just felt much more comfortable, guys. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. And if you're playing on a handheld that is much more comfortable, much more ergonomic, that means that you're going to be playing for a longer period of time. It's just how it is. Now, when going back to the True Strike controllers on the Legion Go 2, because the controllers that are there and there is still that FPS mode, the macro keys are still in that same spot. I personally am kind of, meh when it comes down to it, but at the end of the day, it really is something that is up to the individual person and how they are going to go ahead and use this handheld. By the way, shout out to ETA Prime. He's the one that helped me capture all of these B-roll shots of me trying out the different handhelds that were there and just kind of, getting used to what was there while we were touring the booth. Also, another shout out to Derek. Definitely check out his channel. Some of the footage that was provided in this video also came from him as well. I couldn't really hear the speakers in either of the booth as well as the private event that I was at, so I couldn't really tell whether or not the speakers were improved. My hope is that they were, especially in contrast to the original Legion Go, which was very, very quiet. But when it comes to the Legion Go 2, they're upward firing, which kind of has me a little bit worried. Now, obviously, with the Legion Go S, whichever model you go for, they have front firing speakers, but the Legion Go 2 definitely has me a little bit worried just because that audio is just going to go straight up instead of going into your ears, towards your ears. So I don't know. As of right now, in terms of impressions when it comes to the audio speakers, it's a TBD. Now that we have a handheld that is going to have SteamOS officially supported on that handheld, it definitely opens the door for a lot of things. See, when people came up to me, either my friends and family or even down in the comments in this channel, people would ask, okay, I'm coming from the Nintendo Switch, what handheld should I get? And really, when it comes down to it, if you're coming from the Switch and you don't know much about PC gaming, I still push people towards the Steam Deck because of the fact that it's easy to use. In fact, I made a whole video talking about that. But if you're somebody that is familiar with Windows and you're okay with gaming on PC, despite all the quirks that are there that come with it, then yeah, I would definitely recommend something that is a Windows-based handheld. Lenovo is going at it with a two-prong approach, and it's gonna be interesting, especially that April release, because once that comes out, is that $100 difference that's there enough to push people to either SteamOS or the Windows version that with that Windows tax? It's really cool because for me personally, I prefer the SteamOS experience. In fact, that's why I installed Bazite on my Ally X, which is a whole other video as well. But at the end of the day, I prefer the ease of use of it. Don't get me wrong, I still play on my PC from time to time, but if I'm downstairs on the couch or if I'm in bed and I just want to go ahead and play a little bit of something or the other, I prefer to do it on a SteamOS based handheld. Now, I won't really know how this is going to perform until I finally get one in my hands, run some tests, and see how it performs in contrast to the other handhelds that I have. It's just, I'm super curious to see how the power management is going to work on this and the 55 watt hour battery in contrast to the handheld and the chipset that's there. But because I'm curious, guys. I'm very, very curious to see how this is all going to play out when we finally get it in our hands. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on things. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed content like this. And if you want to hear my thoughts on the original Legion Go 6 months later, then click this video over here. And if you want to hear my thoughts on Legion Go compared to the other Z1E Extreme chipsets and the Steam Deck, then click this video over here. And until next time, guys, I will see you on the next one. Peace.